Well, first of all, thank you for this amazing global meditation, which I'm new to. So it's a tremendous adventure for me. Living in the Middle East has its challenges, but on the whole, it's wonderful. I think we wouldn't be here otherwise. And I have two things to say. One thing that you asked us about last week, you asked us when we had woken up. And that was a very interesting question. And I remember the moment that I woke up, which was as a student in Switzerland. And I remember having sort of really been asleep until then, quite seriously. And I woke up one day and looked out of the window at the marvelous Swiss, mountains and everything, and just suddenly saw. And that was an extraordinary moment. Unfortunately, I went to sleep for about 30 more years after that. However, I discovered mindfulness about 3 months ago. And that has been the second great awakening. And the gratitude I feel for that is really boundless. My question is about fear. The reason I went to look for why I was trying out mindfulness was to deal with my anxiety, which is connected with performing. I'm a performing musician. And although I've played and performed since I was a small child, I have suffered from not crippling, because I wouldn't be able to do it otherwise, but pretty well crippling anxiety about getting on stage, to do what I most love and what I spend a lot of time every day loving and pouring all my energy into.
And what I imagine you're really, really, really good at too.
You do what you can. You try and get better every day. But the love and the passion, I don't know that anybody else has as much as I do. I really, really, really love it. So I'm balancing this terrible fear with the thing I most love, well, apart from my family, and wondering how it is that this can be addressed. Now, from the many things you've said and the many things I've read and the many things people have said, it's really about becoming friends with the thing that you are most scared of. But how do you do this when you are right there? Just this, as you often say, just this, which is you and the 88 keys and the eyes looking at you.
Yeah. Look, I know that one really well, not because I'm a performing musician, but because, very often when you're on stage in front of like 10,000 people or something like that, I mean, in a hall, and you're supposed to say something intelligent, and it's not scripted because you're not going to read something that there are times when I feel like, I'm like going to my own public hanging.
Yes, it would be preferable.
Because you're going to humiliate yourself by saying something or losing track of what you're talking about or anything like that.
Exactly.
So public speaking also, a lot of people have a sort of that fear of speaking in public. And in fact, in scientific studies, the way they measure stress reactivity is they have you give a speech in front of 3 people sitting behind a table in white coats. It's called the Trier Social Anxiety Stress Test. And they have, and they have all sorts of ways of measuring what's going on. And you just have to give a speech in front of people who don't respond to your body language, your facial expressions, or what you're saying. They're like evaluating you and, like a job interview or something like that. So it's a very profound question. And I think we all have a certain degree of performance anxiety around that thing. So I think the hopeful part is that, it hasn't stopped you from performing or from doing what it is that you love. And I'm wondering, to just come back to the question, does it disappear during the concert? Or is it there from beginning to end?
You just don't know. This is the scary thing. You can't quantify it. Sometimes
so it can come and go right in the middle of a piece. What do you play?
The German repertoire mostly.
Are you a singer or are you
A pianist?
Oh, you're a pianist. Okay, somehow I felt that you were a pianist. Yeah, well, I think this is very, very common among performing artists of all kinds, and I think you gave yourself the answer, at least the open door to it. And you said you've only been into this mindfulness practice now for 2 or 3 months, so that's very hopeful too, because give it 3 or 4 years and let it actually merge with your playing, both practicing and so when you disappear, the fear will disappear. So you can ask yourself the question, who's actually performing? Whose fingers are going over the keys? They go so fast, you cannot think your way through the
Well, yeah,
notes, right? You cannot
exactly.
do thinking through it. It'll be like not music. Okay,
Mhm.
so something is happening that is not you doing this, but you've created the conditions where the fingers and the heart and the eyes and the audience and the piano will all collaborate, and the orchestra, if there's an orchestra. So there's something going on that's so much bigger that you're
Yeah.
a part of.
Mm.
And can you trust it even for one moment and let the fear be invited? Like the fear is just another guest in the guest house. The fear is just another spectator to the performance. And when you, in some sense, make room for it in that kind of welcoming way, I think you're going to find over the days, weeks, and months that you practice, that your practice of formal meditation deepens and moves out into the world in the ways that we've been saying, so that there's no separation. You will find that the love affair includes your fear, and it will tell you exactly what it wants in order to participate in the performance in a way that doesn't um, reduce or what would be the right word, that doesn't detract from the impact, the potential full impact of the interaction between the composer's notes
Exactly.
and your whole being and the fingers that go faster than thought.
Mhm. Mhm. It's a very
So
interesting
that's your
thought.
homework assignment.
Well,
And
I
report
think
back over time, let us know how it's going. Um,
if we ever get to play in a concert hall again.
yeah, well, that's a whole other thing, is that like,
Mm.
I have a number of friends who are professional musicians, and that is a big thing. And there are all sorts of interesting ways in which the water is flowing around that impediment, and online things are happening that actually are worth watching and listening to. It's not the same, of course, but there's some very beautiful stuff out there.
One other thing I wanted to add was that I was working with a young student today who gets incredibly frustrated because she's a perfectionist and can't do things sometimes. And I just said to her, okay, we are bringing mindfulness into your lessons. And this is how we're going to do it. All the things that I've been learning over the last 3 months. And I think it's going to be remarkable. I really do. So it's just so fabulous to be learning it myself and sharing it. I don't say teaching it, but sharing it with
Oh, yeah.
somebody and seeing the almost instant transformation. So,
Well, I'm glad that after so many years of having your first experience of like awakening, so to speak, and then
yeah,
going back to sleep, there's a lot of poetry about that because it's universal, that somehow you found your lane, so to speak, and just wishing you all the best with it, and keep us posted, one way or another. We'll figure out how to
I'm
do
on the
that.
bus now. I'm on the bus for sure. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
the bus of no bus.
Well, yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.